Okay, buckle up. Are you ready to rock and roll again? Okay, this is really a tough part, but it's the most important part. And I probably have too much information, so we're going to shut it down about 8:30, but I want to get through as fast as I can. This book just came out last week. By the way, you're the first people that will have it in a bookstore here that are signed. I haven't had time to promote it because I'm getting over the flu. But I've been blown away by how well it's already been received, and it's been amazing. It is the hardest work of my life, and it hasn't ended yet. I realize now this is just really ongoing. The book is called Societal Shift, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls. I believe that we live at the most important time in all of history, even more important than the Industrial Revolution, and I mean that with all my heart. Because what is about to happen here is truly historic. Literally, it is one of the most important times. I decided to leave this in here. If you're faith-based, it's the reason why this is such an important time is this is the first time in all of history that the world will be connected by internet. It is supposed to happen next year. If you're faith-based, I find it kind of interesting that it'd be the first time since the Tower of Babel that God allowed everybody to come together. But what is interesting is right now there are 4.6 billion internet users. Because of 5G and all the expansion going on in history, in the world, you are about to see the entire world connected by internet. I work out of Cambodia, and more than half of Cambodians now have a little smartphone. They're living in a grass hut with a dirt floor, and it's called Same but Different. They even have them over in Kenya and all around the world. So this will be the first generation in all of history that will reach the entire world, and the entire world will reach them. And it's the most amazing time to be alive, in my opinion. I believe this generation of young people have the greatest opportunity and the greatest challenge of any generation that has ever lived. You see, their younger brothers and sisters knew the internet, but this is the first generation that we are equipping with devices to reach the entire world 24/7. And that has never happened before. It has changed your life, and it's changed our life. And what I don't see is a lot of effort to use that technology, this thing's kind of crazy here, to use that technology in a way that will honor themselves and honor others. What is happening here is that you can use technology in many amazing ways. If you have a faith-based community, that well that you raise the funding for over in Kenya, your students can literally talk to them while they're digging that well by live streaming. And that's possible right now. The poorest child in the whole world can get a Harvard education if they choose to use technology in a good way. We have technology now that will solve cancer that we don't even know exists. But it is a crazy, crazy thing that we are doing. When you stop to think about what is happening, you have all this amazing opportunity, but very little education going with it. You see, our kids are technology wizards. They are. They get these new apps, they're trying them out, these new games, they can shoot up and do all this stuff, and they are way ahead of us. They are the first to understand it. And then you have mom and dad running along behind going, you be careful on that thing now. Yeah. And some of you are technically impotent for what it's worth. Yeah, and here we are with this great societal experiment. And what is scaring me is that we are giving adult devices to very young children. When is that child going to be able to tell if that device is just simply a little tablet where they're watching a movie or it's connected to the World Wide Web? One of the things I will do with your students tomorrow morning in your class, I love talking to students. I'm always amazed that they're willing to listen to me. But it is amazing. Go home tonight if you have kids and ask them, who owns the internet? Have you ever thought about that? They will tell you Al Gore owns it, by the way. Anyway, nobody owns the internet. So if nobody owns it, is it private? I have never met a kid yet that will tell me it's private. Nah, it's not private. Really, if it's not private, why would anybody send a naked photo on it? Have you ever thought about where naked photos go when you hit send? and why somebody wants your naked photo besides maybe just brooding over it because there's some sort of weirdo pedophile? Think about what is happening here. This is not called the U.S. web. You see, our kids get all these devices and they're thinking games and social and entertainment. And nobody ever says to them, this is not called the U.S. web. It is called the WWW World Wide Web. There is nothing less private in the entire world than the internet. I love to share the slides late in the pack, so I'll give it to you now. I tell kids, do you realize the U.S. government looks at every email that goes out around the world? And yes, Snapchat, yeah, they can get Snapchat, and Dropboxes. It is called photo DNA. It is an algorithm, and they're looking for naked and violated and sexual images of children because they're looking for child pornography. And since they started doing this, they've intercepted over 215 million images of children being sexually violated or in sexual poses. And 15 million of them are naked selfies that our kids are sending themselves. So I love it. I'll do it again tomorrow. I will tell them, if you know somebody that sent their boyfriend or girlfriend a naked photo, you need to know that you're in the photo album at the FBI in Quantico, Virginia, so don't be doing it again. And tell your friends. They need to hear there is nothing private on the World Wide Web. It is a home without walls because it is. Literally 87% of our kids sleep with their phone. Think about what that means. At 3 o'clock in the morning in their underwear, in their most vulnerable little place, coming between the sheets is a pedophile going bzz, 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 right here. And that is how it'll be. You see, the thing that is not being talked about enough is a world without borders for our kids, is a world without borders for cartels and pimps and pedophiles and predators and organized crime and gangs. And they are using social media to access, groom, recruit, and exploit our children. These technologies are coming with absolutely no instructions, no warning. I mean, we do better than that on our prescriptions on TV. We need to be able to say, this is how a pedophile might use this on you. Beware. But they don't come out with any of that until somebody like me, who spends tens of thousands of hours in research and then converts it into things where I can run my radio shows and educate people like yourself and law enforcement and district attorneys how this is going to be used by a pedophile we don't know. In fact, I found out recently that about 8% of our kids are going to have to be violated before we can really figure out, oh, that's how it's going to work. I don't believe that most of our kids will be violated. I don't believe there's a human trafficker behind every bush. It might surprise you. But I am going to tell you this. When I find a kid that has been violated on the internet, it changes their life forever. Because they love to prey in on those 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. What's that tell you? They're hormonal. They're getting their sexual identity. It will determine who they are for the rest of their life. It will determine their relationships sexually for the rest of their life. And if they end up in a shame-based relationship, it will change who they are, and it will make them much more likely to be a sex trafficking victim. At least 70% of sex trafficking victims were previously sexually violated. We are handing our kids phones, and at least 8% of them are ending up in some sort of violation. It is like we have decided to put a veil of denial between us, parents, and technology and play a game of roulette with our kids. Now, I don't believe that you can take social media away from kids. That cat's out of that box, baby. But what I am going to ask you is to lower your veil of denial tonight and get involved. Recognize what is happening and start to get involved with your child's social media. That father who would see his son, his 12-year-old son, talking to a prostitute in real life and go, hey son, hello, you have a mother or a sister? We don't do that. That same father will walk right by Grand Theft Auto and go, oh, God, he's on that thing again. And never realize he just paid $50 to have sex with a prostitute and kill her so he can get his money back. When you put your kids on the big ones, think about this. If they're hormonal, if they don't have adult judgment, they are on there with over 1 billion users. I keep seeing 9, 10, 11-year-old kids being put on the World Wide Web. And I keep saying, if you're going to put an 11-year-old in a public chat room, please, before you do that, do me a favor. Put them in your car and drive them down here to the strip club. You probably don't have them up here on the mountain. You'll have to go to San Bernardino. Sorry, San Bernardino. Anyway, drive them down to the strip club and leave them off for an hour or two. Don't go in and protect them, and see how that worked out for them. Because the people are hanging out in some of those public chat rooms you're never going to allow in your living room. And yet by that veil of denial, you walk by and do it. Why is this so important? Parents come to me and go, well, which apps are safe? None. If you're on the World Wide Web, you better have adult reasoning, because you are in an adult environment on the World Wide Web. And the reason I tell you this is that it must be a strategy and an attitude that is created by you and your child together. I usually like to start out with, it's my phone because I'm paying for it. But I believe in you, and I think you're going to be a leader, and I'm proud of you. I've watched you. You have good judgment, and you want to lead the rest of your classmates and your brothers and sisters, and using this wisely. So I'm going to loan you my phone. But, you know, because it's my phone, I do borrow it back from time to time, and I do check it. You know, if I ever see that it isn't being used as leadership, then of course we'll need to borrow that back till we're ready. But in the meantime, I want you to teach me everything you know about that. You don't get any apps unless I understand how they work. And I'm going to get involved in it because I care about you. You are worth fighting for. But you are also the most important generation that's ever lived, and I need you to be the leader that is self-responsible. What I'm about to share with you is what I will share with your kids tomorrow in high school. I'm not law enforcement, I'm civilian, but our law enforcement cannot keep your kids safe. You cannot keep your kids safe. If they go on the World Wide Web and they decide to be sneaky and take risks, they're going to pay. And our kids must have that dialogue, and they must have it right up front. Because look at the new technologies that have just come out in the last year. Encrypted messaging. You follow me on Facebook, you'll see almost all of that is taking place in encryption with all the big apps. That means that you, mom and dad, will be able to see the message go in and the message come out, but you can't read that message. We have disappearing video and disappearing photos on there. We have vaporware. This is called live streaming. You know, if you're live streaming something, just like we're doing right now, if it's not freeze-framed, if it's not saved, then poof, it's gone. It's called vaporware. If you, mom and dad, don't walk in the room while your kid's live streaming, they can hide that from you. They can hide it from law enforcement, although we're getting pretty good at recovery. Facebook opened a legitimate site on the dark web. This is your new back page, by the way. They'll meet in the clear web. They'll exchange addresses. We'll get in the dark web as we close. And what they'll do is set up sex acts, and they'll work on the Bitcoin account. Yes, your kids have Bitcoins. I bet you don't. But you'll work on their Bitcoin account, and they will set up a date. And what you're starting to see is paid pornography in a subscription service. And then they go in the dark web and set up their commercial sex. Snapchat says now you can monetize a selfie. I heard that. I said, really? What kind of photo is my kid selling? It's not your dog or cat if you're selling a selfie. It is our kids who got Bitcoin first because of all their video games. That's anonymous and non-traceable. Blockchain will change child pornography because it's decentralized computing. Blockchain is more transparent in the middle, but it's almost impossible to tell who puts it in and who takes it out. When our law enforcement goes out to arrest a child pornographer, what do? They grab the hard drive with their search warrant. In the future, there won't be search warrants. We have virtual reality pornography. I have a lot of fun with this one. I want to share it with you. I do all kinds of research because I really want to understand the big picture of this technology world. And I had a lot of fun on this one. This guy was at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and he said, I tried this out. He said, I've been married 30 years. I never cheated on my wife. I do the normal stuff in bed. It actually sounded a little bored to me, quite frankly. Anyway, he said, I tried this thing out. And he said, in 5 minutes, I'm doing stuff with 3 people I'll never admit to a soul. And he said, but it burned on my heart for nearly a month. He said, I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was so powerful. And I said, who uses virtual reality? Grand Theft Auto. GTA 6 will have virtual reality, and I'm sure knowing GTA 6, it'll be pornographic. We have artificial intelligence. You know, I don't want to get political on you, but I want to open your eyes to something. About 6 months ago, there was a big hubbub, and I'm not going to talk about politics, okay? But it was about how Facebook had sold a bunch of private data to the Republican Party during the election, and half of America sold their Facebook stock, and Jeff Zuckerberg lost $5 billion in one day. Holy cow. Hope he went out for a drink. Anyway, who knows? Anyway, $5 billion. And I'm listening to this and I go, does America not get how this works? When was Facebook ever charged you anything? When was the last time you ever paid money to Facebook? You never have paid a dime to Facebook, and they are a $1 trillion company. They are selling your every click, your every search, your every location. You know, they sell it to the Republicans, they sell it to the Democrats, the Unitarians, the Vegetarians, and the Presbyterians. They don't care who they're going to sell it to. So what does that tell you? There is nothing private left in your life. I just got a new Verizon phone. Do you know they tried to install one of those devices on my car? Oh, it's free, Miss Singleton. I don't care. I don't want it. You know, well, it'll give you roadside assistance. I have that. Thanks. That is going to track everywhere my car goes. You know, and they are going to sell that out. Do you know your telemarketer, before they call you, know what you searched yesterday? You know, a while back, I was trying to buy a new front door, and I'm over here searching sex site, and that darn new front door kept coming up, you know, because I had searched it. Mona works with me. She likes to give me a bad time about my artificial intelligence profile. I know all the Russian mail-order brides. Amazon thinks I need to know all the top 10 sex toys nearly every day. And she's convinced there's a guy on a tractor in Iowa that thinks I'm marriage material on farmersonly.com. There you go. This is what we call available and vulnerable. When I talk to your kids, we talk about don't be low-hanging fruit. These guys are playing the numbers game. They're now reaching the entire world. So if you're reaching out there, you're available and vulnerable. As you saw, even gangs are out there on Tinder and Meet Me and Plenty of Fish. And we have 3 cases now on the new one, My Laugh Out Loud. Look at the age ranges on these dating sites, 13 to 25. Why is a 25-year-old on a dating site with a 13-year-old? Hello? Think about boyfriend grooming. Now I'm going into a couple of areas here that are really heavy, so I'm going to ask you to just kind of take a deep breath and walk along with me. This is fairly new stuff. The one I'm about to show you is brand new. But I am deeply, deeply concerned about the trend of where this is going. I love Like Me. It is not bad technology. Technology is not good or bad. It is how we teach our kids to use it with respect and responsibility, and how engaged a parent is. Like Me is the newest. It is literally live streaming on steroids. You literally, before too long, you'll be able to run an infomercial right in your living room and sell out some sort of product, have a Tupperware party, and draw a crowd and get the people to give you money and cheer you on and get involved. As a church organization, you can have meetings and meet people all around the world and get them involved and sell them a product. That's not, the technology is not a problem. Like Me is a geo-based live streaming. You go on there, you do something, and it alerts thousands of people you're there. This is a problem if you're 9 years old. This 9-year-old is twerking. How many people know what I'm talking about? Okay, well, I said in my book that if you're over 40, you're going to need a chiropractor. If you're over 70, you're going to need an ambulance, okay? Thank you, Miley Cyrus. Twerking is the rapid movement of your behind that emulates the sex act. When you're 9, you don't understand the sex act part of it, but you know how to emulate Miley Cyrus, and so you're twerking your behind, and she's quite good at it. And she's on Like Me, so she draws a crowd, and they're all talking to her. 9-year-olds are raised on stickers for approval. And they're telling her, man, you got 20 stickers, I'll give you 30 more if you'll take your top off, and I'll give you 40 more if you take your bottom off. By the time Mom walked in, this 9-year-old had literally 90 stickers. She's thinking she's really hot, and 10,000 people have viewed her doing sex acts on the World Wide Web, and is being freeze-framed and sold into child pornography rings. Here is what is scaring me. I believe that if Snapchat has Snap Cash, that it will only be about 3 months before Live Me has Live Money, and it will change the world of sex trafficking. Because you are going to have 15-year-olds all over the world in their bedroom twerking and stripping and doing amateur pornography and selling it out on their Bitcoin account and literally earning a new pair of Nikes because they can. I believe we are only 3 months away from that. I don't know if I have this slide, but I just want to bring this up. I just studied all of Pornhub. I'm going to show it to you at the end. Pornhub is the largest porn site in the world. Now, there are millions of porn sites, but they came out with their year-end study, and I studied it. One of the scariest things is one of the fastest growing segments of Pornhub is literally amateur pornography. Our kids figuring out that if they strip and do sex acts, that they can charge for it, and that is a concern. This is a new app that has just come out in the last 6 months, and it's called TikTok. This weighs on my heart. I was talking earlier. I haven't really got deep into where this is going. TikTok bought Musical.ly. What is Musical.ly? Musical.ly was an app that if you wanted to be Katy Perry, you could go on Musical.ly. Now you go on TikTok and you sing and you dance and you twerk and you send it into them and they go, honey, you only have about 200 followers, you need a lot more. That was what was happening on TikTok. You could sign up and you could get more, on Musical.ly. But TikTok now is starting to operate like Musical.ly. And I realized today, as this headline came on to my internet, and I'm going to get to the headline in a minute, that first of all, this will be used to replace Backpage as you do your sex acts and connect. Because what happens is it goes out to thousands of people and they alert you that you're on the air. And now they can send you messages and you will have your own Bitcoin account. I'm going to tell you, this is interactive Backpage and it is on its way. Just yesterday on my Facebook page is this headline, and it was like an axe between the eyes to someone like me as I began to realize what TikTok really is. Do you realize this is not just another app? This is going to change our entire society. It will change the world of sex trafficking, but it will change our kids' sexual relationships. Because what is about to happen is that pedophile no longer has to comb through all those instant messaging apps to try to find your kid to see if they can seduce him. Your kid is going to be on a platform waving, hey, I'm available, I'm vulnerable, I'm cute, I want your approval, won't you like me? And this is already starting to happen. You see, you think about Facebook, it's for old folkies now. We post those old videos and we put on there, oh, you're looking cute, and we put photos on there. These kids don't want that. They want live streaming, they want FaceTime, they want eye-to-eye, they want instant gratification, they want massive approval, and TikTok will deliver that as we see. That is why it just passed Facebook yesterday in the number of followers. I wrote this slide, and it's a very heavy slide, but I want to share it with you. I wrote this slide because of a YouTube I looked at that really was deeply concerning. I believe that for most of our kids, their first sexual encounter will be a virtual sexual encounter. And this is very important to me because this is happening when kids are getting their sexual identity. Sex is the one bodily function that is connected to the soul. I was kidding about that on my massage parlor this morning. It's always interesting when we take on the 10 Commandments, we never start negotiating on thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not steal. We always start with thou shalt not commit adultery, like it's some sort of negotiation that we're in charge of. But when we get into negotiating with our kids and sex, we are negotiating with their soul. Because sex determines who you are for the rest of your life. If you're 11 and 12 and 13 years old, some of you have been violated in your life, you know that you are different than other people for the rest of your life. And we are raising a generation of kids that we are exposing. Let me tell you about this YouTube I saw. This little girl is 11, and mom and dad have her in a Minecraft chat room. I digress, but if you're going to do that, please take her down the strip club first. Because she's in there with a bunch of adult males, and she's really lousy, quite frankly. She's never played, so her little character's wobbly, and a little boy character comes along, and he starts raping her little girl character. There's a lot more sex in these video games than you ever know if you don't have an avatar and get involved. So the little boy character is raping her, and all the guys are laughing at her, and then they realize this little girl is not fighting back. And they go, honey, don't take that from him. Don't let him do that to you. Run. Get away from him. Do something. And you heard a little 11-year-old girl go, I don't know how. And the little boy character came from behind and raped her. And all the guys laughed, and I watched that. And I thought, what happened here? Did that little girl realize she just got virtually raped in front of a bunch of adult males who are laughing at her? Or is this another stupid video game and she's not good at it? I cannot answer that. But what I can tell you is that if it's a shame-based encounter, it will change that girl's self-image about her worth and her value, and it will change how she perceives males and other partners in her life. It will change how she sees whether or not she's loved and in a given exchange. You see, what is happening in so much of these video games is there is a lot of sex, but it's sex as a weapon. Sex outside the contents of a relationship. Sex without respect and exchange. So our kids get a instant message. Your kids will see this tomorrow. Here's how, if you're a young person in here and you think you're talking to a pedophile or somebody who wants to violate you, first of all, I hope you're not talking to anyone you don't know. That's the first way that you get in trouble. And by the way, they enter in these video games with people that you know, but suddenly someone you know has a new friend you don't know, and because of your friend, you begin to accept them. That is the most common way pedophiles enter video games. But what will happen here is you get an instant message, maybe Instagram or Snapchat, and you know, this is really good if you're 14, kids. This is good, okay? How do you know that's a pedophile? He'll move you to another app almost immediately. And if you're on there talking to someone you don't know and they say, hey, let's send an Instagram, or they move the app, run for your life. They're trying to verify you're not a cop, and they're trying to see if you're willing to follow them, which you are if you did. So you get one of these and you think, this is really good, except it's really this guy. I have no problem telling you that guy's ugly, okay? I can imagine a 14-year-old who says, hey, baby, you're hot, but this guy has 300 victims because he looked like that to our kids. This is Riverside County's biggest case, and it is my personal case. The reason I do all the training is to help my team find the leads and get people to report, and I want to share this with you. This is Mr. Eliaberto Jacoba. He's 44 years old. He's married with 3 kids. He's a realtor. He lives in Hemet. There is nothing trick about this. This is why you ask me, well, what apps should I use and which ones not? It doesn't matter. If you're going to take chances on the internet, it can be the old-fashioned Facebook, and you'll still get burned. In this case, he got a photograph of a woman he called Marissa Garcia, Hispanic woman, about 19. We don't even know if he really knew her. He built a fake Facebook page, and Marissa was a prostitute. She's going to Vegas. She's having, getting a new car. She gets all new clothes. She goes to dinner. She gets her nails done. It's amazing how many kids will get in this to get their nails done. Do you know that more than 200 of our kids in the Inland Empire contacted Marissa Garcia? They're, of course, talking to him, saying, show me how to make this kind of money. It's called easy money. I talk to kids. Easy money will be the most expensive money you ever earn. If you start taking shortcuts with money, it's going to cost you, and you are going to pay. 200 kids went to the next level and contacted him, thinking it's her. They don't know. And he says, hey, let me set you up with my best customer. He's great in bed. He tips well, and it's only sex. You'll have a great time. Do you know that more than 100 of our kids took it to another level? Many of them showed up and had sex with this man. I'm not making this up. This is our community down the hill. And when he was through having sex, he said, let's look at the videotape we just made together. You're now a prostitute. Not one of those kids knew they were being filmed. But here's the power of this, folks. I know when you talk to kids, they listen if you talk turkey with them. And I'm doing this, one of those 7 back-to-back one day at a high school. And these kids, and at the end of the second one, 2 little blonde, they were dark-haired kids, had long kinky hair. They were laughing, and it was a joke to them. They come up to me, they handed me their phone, they said, Miss Singleton, you think this is something? Because we're just playing a game with this girl. I've never met a kid yet that understood what was about to happen. I was just playing a game with this girl. They thought it was a joke. I looked at that phone and said, let me call Sergeant Sawyer. And I did. And now he got 122 years in prison. But what I want you to see is this is our kids and our community. You see, when you put kids on the World Wide Web without equipping them with what they're supposed to be looking for. When I talk to kids, I tell them the story about the fantasy relationships because I want them to understand an empowering relationship and an exploiting relationship. We put them on the World Wide Web and we don't define for them what success is. We don't get involved in what they're finding and help them evaluate it. How are they supposed to learn this? Because literally what is happening, and it's happening younger and younger, this is a case from San Bernardino County, by the way. And this father called me. I was on my way to Park and retrained the DA over there. And I'll never forget it. A wonderful man, wonderful father. His daughter wanted high puppies. He said, I thought she was too young for it. You know, I really didn't think that I thought she was too old for it. But I thought, okay, she's innocent. I want to protect her innocence. He bought it. He said never once did he check that game to see if it was connected to the internet. And he was calling me from Kaiser Hospital with the rape kit. She's 11, he's 19. So check all the games. So what I want to share with you here is that this can happen in online gaming, and it can happen to anybody. This is an 11-year-old girl. Mom and Dad knew she was on there. By the way, I had 9 of these in 14 days. We have on average 1 a day. I think I'm about to show you that this is happening on average 9,000 times a day across America. She's 11. Mom and Dad knows they're talking to her. They don't think it's a danger. They put her to bed Saturday night, and Sunday morning they get her ready for church, and she's being raped in another hotel in another state. In this case, he's a 14-year-old guy, and he's playing a video game chat room. He meets this girl, and she lies to him. Imagine that on the internet. She says, I only live an hour away. He actually lived 8 hours away, she did. He says, why don't you come by and we'll have sex one night. In the middle of the night, I'll rush out, we'll jump in the car, have sex in your car, and then I'll run back into the house and my folks will never know. Well, she shows up, she drives 8 hours, brings her friend. He comes running out, he jumps in the car. They lock the door, pull a gun on him. They took him back to New Mexico 8 hours away. They raped him for 5 days, held him hostage, and eventually left him naked on a dirt road along the side of the thing. This one we'll be talking to tomorrow for your kids, and I really need you as adults to hear this because I've been blown away by the number of kids who know this, but the parents don't know it. This is a game of dare. Please speak to your kids that you cannot win a game of dare. Never, never, never play a game of dare. You'll get this character. It doesn't matter what the character is. It can be any character. But they'll give you a calculator and tell you to pick a number, any number. Well, all kids, they can't resist. They pick 4, 9. They've entered a virus into their phone. And that virus goes directly to their photo album. And then it goes over to their Instagram directory. And you play a game a couple of times, and then you go, Momo, I don't want to play anymore. And Momo goes, wait a minute, isn't this a picture of you and your girlfriend fooling around here without clothes on? And isn't this your Instagram directory? Because that photo is going to go over here to everyone you know if you quit playing. What I share with kids is, number 1, never play a game of dare. Number 2, never, never put a photograph in your album that anybody can blackmail you with, because the minute you play a game of dare, you're going to get blackmailed. And number 3, tell someone if you get sextorted. You see, what will happen is this kid looks around, and kids are killing themselves all over the world over these games. They look around, and they're being blackmailed, and they're looking for someone to blame, but there was nobody in the room with them. It wasn't like Uncle Joe violated him and you could say, arrest this guy. He was bad to me. Nobody was in the room. This chapter in the book is called Phantom Relationships. We need to take a look at what we're doing in submitting our kids. I also want to take a second, even though I'm running a little late. If there's counselors in here, let me train you. If there's school counselors, you need to understand. If there's pastors, youth group leaders, this affects the whole family. I spend a lot of my time counseling men. You know, the loss of the innocence of their daughter is the greatest loss of their life. And they feel like they should have protected them. And they go through anger and grieving. And they can't sleep. They can't go to work. They blame the wife. They blame themselves. It affects the marriage. They blame her. They blame the internet. And then they go start through all over again. This man is a man. He looks at her like a fallen woman. And then he comes back and he tries to accept her. This girl needs that man to put his arms around her and say, I believe in you, honey. This is horrible. This is awful. I am here for you. I don't know who got you into this, but you are not a bad person. And I believe in you. I'm going to stay with you. You are not alone. We are going to get help together, and we are going to go to the police. And the police are going to take that seriously because this is happening by large-scale rings. This chapter is called crowdsourcing. These guys, there were 6 of them. There was one with 9. They gave each other names. Our kids never knew they were talking to 6 different men. They kept massive databases. Well, I'm coming to the end, and I want to address child pornography and online gaming, and then we will close on this. Watch out for something called freemium. There is a brand new gaming model out that is really a concern. Up until last year, most of your kids, you bought the game and then you give your kid a credit card and then they bought some V-Bucks or, you know, some skins and stuff for their avatar. If you don't know, an avatar is a character in the video game. And if you don't know that, go home and ask your kids for an avatar and get your own and learn to play and scare the socks off of them, okay? Even if you're lousy, get an avatar and start to talk to your kid and go, did we just kill a cop? Because, son, I don't kill cops, you know? Is that a prostitute in there? We need to talk about this and show me how this game works. Why is this important? What is happening is you give your kid a credit card and they spend about $85 a year buying upgrades so they can get their character better. Game of War and League of Legends started freemium model last year and is a smashing success. They give your kids games for free so you don't even know they have them. And they build obstacles in those games. So then, all of a sudden, think about how a game works. It's not like going to a dirty movie where you see sex and violence and it happened to a character and you all go home. You have a score and you're talking to people in a chat room and you need their approval. And many of those chat rooms have literally live streaming in them. I didn't have time to show you the video, but they can live stream right into your house and bond eye to eye with your kid and, yes, engage in sex acts. Eye to eye with your child. They can tell your child is not a cop. So what is happening here is they build these obstacles in, and the guy in the chat room says, hey, you got to get that score up, or, you know, you're going to have to leave and go play with the girls. And, you know, the kid says, I can't get around the obstacle. And he goes, use your Bitcoin. And the kid's bored. He goes, I don't have any Bitcoins. And the guy in the chat room says, I'll give you $50, just send me a naked photo, and the rest is history. And we already have 2 cases of that. That's called freemium. So how does all of this work? Well, what is happening, if you think of the internet as a bucket of water, the top 3% is where we live. We have Bing, Chrome, Google, we have search engines and IP addresses. Below that, we have the deep web. That's big corporations and NSA. Below that is the dark web. And the dark web is the bulk of the internet, but it doesn't have search engines. So what happens is that pedophiles meet in the clear web and they find likeness. In fact, I have a lot of photos that we know to watch for. They trigger and they put these out in their artwork. And it shows images that makes you realize I'm into 3-year-olds, I'm into toddlers, I'm into 7-year-olds, I want 14-year-olds, I like 16-year-old boys. And they put these signs out there and they meet in the clear web, and then they give an address in the dark web and they form a large-scale community. What happens is you can't just go from the clear web to the dark web. You need a Tor browser. Now, there are multiple kinds of browsers, but this is the most popular, so we'll use it. Tor stands for The Onion Routing, T-O-R. So if you ever see a young person, and this is really where affluent kids are really finding themselves in trouble because they have a little more time on their hands and they have better equipment. The Tor isn't all that expensive, but you need better equipment. If you ever see someone in a .onion account instead of .info or .net, they're in the dark web. And so you should get your attention. All kinds of things happen in the dark web, mostly bad, some good, but mostly bad. It is the bulk of the internet. And where I'm mostly concerned has to do with child pornographers. These guys find each other and they literally embrace and embellish each other. It used to be pedophiles would, prey on relatives and hide in the corner. Now they are forming large-scale communities and they are buying, selling, trading images of naked kids. This is one of the larger ones that they found by the FBI, had 215,000 pedophiles. You had to qualify to be in this every week. That means every week a pedophile had to go violate a new child or a child, take a photograph of it, and submit it to their administrator to make sure that they were not being photoshopped and that they were not cops. That meant in just this one ring, 215,000 kids minimum were being violated around the world. It was being ran by this guy right here. They just recently found one out of Canada that had over 400,000 pedophiles in it. And they found 3 databases that had over 30 million images each in their database. So why do you care about your son or daughter in online gaming? Because they prey in video game chat rooms. This is called sextortion, sex and extortion. So this guy ran one of those child pornography rings with 27,000 pedophiles. 85% of his victims are boys. So you're 14 years old and you're playing Fortnite, who isn't? And you meet this girl and you fall in love. You might even go into heat. This is good, okay? This is your kind of deal. And here's what you need to hear. You talk to her every day. You text her. You go back and forth. You're thinking, this is the real deal. And one day this cute little thing drops her naked photo on you, and now she wants yours back, and you're like, I don't know, I gave you mine. And you take that photo in all your wonderful glory and you shoot it off to him. Only it's this guy right here, and he sells it for $1 a piece, and he just picked up $27,000. Here's what's important. Photos, if you do not disable it, have GPS on it. They know where you live. All of a sudden, if you have a son, they will change dramatically. They get very quiet. They can't go to school. This is why I train CWAs and attendance people. All of a sudden, a kid who's very good will change, and he can't go to school. If it's a girl, she'll start to cut, and she'll shut down, and she might get very, very emotional. They both go to school, they come back, they can't sleep, and then next thing you know, they start running away, and they may try suicide. That is called sextortion. They have thousands of people calling them. They want to come over. I need more photos. I need better photos. I was talking about the 9 that I had in 13 days a while back. One of them was a 16-year-old boy that they convinced to involve their 12-year-old sister in it, and they caught the deal. These kids will do anything not to tell. The hardest part of this is teaching them that once this has happened, they are in a prison. They are in a mental prison. This guy will hold them hostage. They will threaten everything. What I share with your young people and will do tomorrow is the only way out of the box is to tell. If they tell you not to tell, you're in a box and they're not. So go and tell somebody. I had a girl that licked a toilet bowl and filmed herself. A girl who drank her own urine and filmed herself doing that. This is amazing what these kids will do, not to tell. Now, Mom and Dad, I'm going to take it from your angle. You see this, and it's amazing how often this is happening. I just trained a bunch of teachers at Aruba this last week, and the lady called me and said, I went home and started telling my 11-year-old son, and I'm talking, and she said, all of a sudden he looked different to me. And I asked him, son, is it possible you have a naked photo? And he did. He had been being blackmailed for almost 3 months, and she never had a clue. Had I not trained that day, we wouldn't know that case. Here's what you do. Put your arm around your child. I believe in you. I'm seeing you struggle with something really, really deep. And I love you too much just to leave that be. I want you to know, whatever it is, I don't know if you can talk, but I believe in you, and I'm here for you, and you are not alone. Now here's the specific wording I have found so far. It's nothing magic, but it seems to work. Is it possible you have a naked photo on the internet? And then just be very quiet and let them sort through it. If they can't, then say to them, if you are, I want you to know I won't think less of you. I won't judge you, and I won't get angry. You better be able to keep your word. And put your arms around and say, I'm here with you, you are not alone. That is the loneliest place in the world for a child, is to be being blackmailed by the world's pedophiles, all because they wanted to be loved. They just wanted to be accepted. And we put them on the World Wide Web without equipping them to do that. Now I'm going to tell you something, dads especially. I had a case that this really was helpful to me. He called me and told me that Jason come running in. He said, Jason's saying, Dad, I need to mow the lawn. And he said, I knew Jason was in trouble. He's never mowed anything in his life. Anyway, when he sat down with Jason, Jason said, yes, I do, Dad. And he said, you know, it was amazing that I could feel the anger start at my toes and go to my head. I just became a ball of rage. And I'm thinking, how am I going to be there for my son? And he actually went to the kitchen and waited almost a half hour before he could come back and sit down with them. They may have to sell their home because of the harassment. The other thing I share with you from law enforcement is when we get these parents to take that kid to law enforcement, let's take it very seriously. They must go to Crimes Against Children and ICAC if they can, because literally they may have their whole life at stake. So I am right down to the end. I'm already over, but I just am going to throw this in, so please bear with me for about 5 or 6 minutes and we're through. I am concerned about the amount of pornography our kids are seeing. This is absolutely addictive. I had an 11 or 14-year-old boy at Aruba tell me, Miss Singleton, you ever play that game? He said, that game is raunchy. It is so bad. And I said, you play that game? He goes, yeah. I said, you play it every day? He goes, pretty much. I said, are you addicted to it? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, are you going to give it up? And he said, no, I don't think so. I said, well, you're addicted? He goes, yeah, well, it's really raunchy. And I love that kid because he's telling me, I'm 14. My score depends on this. And I think to myself, what kind of guy? He says, you know, he sees this every day in his relationships. He's sharing it. You talk about a grooming incubator. The guy in the chat room is going eye to eye with them while they're looking at this, and they're talking about sex. No wonder they're vulnerable. And so what is happening in this is that think about what he's going to be like when he's 16 or 18 or a father or a husband. You think this is not serious? Pornhub just came out with this, and they were averaging 33 billion downloads, but their number 2 download is Bowsette. Anybody here know who Bowsette is? I almost made it without coughing. Okay, Bowsette is the main character in Fortnite, the biggest game in the world for our kids. And I researched this, I thought, what the heck is going on here? They have 40 million downloads for animated video game character pornography on just one porn site. And I go on there. I don't like looking at pornography, but sometimes my job requires it. And I looked at this. Holy cow, I am not old enough to see this stuff. And I've seen a lot of this stuff. Because it's pornography, it's art. You go to A to Z. There are no limitations. There's no requirement of being considerate of your mate or having an exchange. This goes right from A to Z. You think I'm kidding? Look at the number of teen porn games when you go to search that. So one bad decision for our kids will really change a life. Where is this going? Well, I believe that cyber sex on demand, because of Live Me, because of all the opportunity that is going on in the internet for selling commercial sex, that cyber sex on demand, what I call interacting pornography, will be the greatest crime in the world by 2020. Partly because just now we're very close to having the technology where our kids can do amateur pornography, and so can your lonely housewife. But so can people all around the world on this. This is a case out of Florida where they brought in 3 gay men. This is a cartel, and they put 3 adult males. Don't think men don't get trafficked. They do. And I do not know how a man survives sitting in front of a webcam 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. I don't know how you survive it mentally or physically. But that cartel was billing $40,000 literally for 3 men. Here is a case out of Germany where literally 50 pedophiles went together in pay-per-view live streaming. They talked to each other, they directed it, they interacted, they embellished, they gave each other acceptance, and they watched a child in the Philippines be violated. And that cartel billed $350,000 in 10 minutes. And they never delivered a gun or a drug. You can't tell me that the Russian mafia, the Colombian mafia, the Mexico mafia, the Chinese mafia, once they understand they can make $30,000 on money laundering and never deliver a gun or a drug, that our world is about to change. It is right now a billion-dollar industry in the Philippines. So what do? I know I have delivered a whole lot of traumatic information, and I am not giving you enough solutions. I'm out of time, but I do want to throw this in. The first thing is, this is me at the end of the day, only I got hair. We can no longer pretend this is not happening. We have been pretending for a very long time. It will not go away. It will accelerate. The technology will be there. However, we don't have to take it lying down. I talk to your kids every day in these schools. Kids want to be a leader. Kids need to and want to understand how the internet works. I want to make a documentary, and I'm not soliciting you for funding because I hope I get it from Pachanga. It's already half funded by Newport Beach Exchange Club. Thank you, I appreciate that. I want to make a documentary that I can give free to every school in America about how the internet is made and about the greatest time in all of history. It'll be called Impact, Your Place in History. I want you to be a leader. You must be the leader that uses technology with respect and responsibility, because I can't keep you safe, and neither can your mom and dad. It is the greatest challenge for this generation. For me, this is the DARE program of all time. Our kids want to be leaders. We need to equip them, and we need to equip you, which is why I'm here. Mom and dad, educate yourself. I know we're selling books tonight, but buy a book. If you don't, follow me on Facebook, it's free. But look at Exploited Crimes, it's free. And get in there. Put the family back in family. Parenting is the most important mission of all times, and especially of this generation. They are not only the most important generation that's ever lived, you're the most important parents that are leading this generation. And we are counting on you to take this seriously. We can no longer walk around with that veil of denial. Put the phones away and get involved with your children. A couple times a week, put those phones. I go out to dinner all the time and I see these kids, everybody's at dinner and they're just texting each other. Nobody is looking eye to eye. Get some quality dialogue going on between your family. Put those phones in a box and lock it up and walk it to the car and put it in the trunk so you can't hear it go bzz, bzz, bzz. That happened to me at church Sunday. I'm down there, this thing's going off, and I'm like, Opal, you wrote a book on this. Yeah, well, somebody needs me. You know, we're like in a maze, kind of, we're like rats. Put them away and teach your children to respect technology. Look at them eye to eye and engage. Get yourself an avatar. If they have an app, get the app. And say, you know what, son and daughter, you're going to teach me this because you're just too important to me for me to turn over to the World Wide Web. We're going to learn it together. So I understand the dangers. Talk about digital morality. Kids will tell you that when they have sex in Grand Theft Auto, you pay $20, $50, and $70, and they'll tell you it's not sex. And I go, really? How come you just spent $50 on it? More important, why aren't you giving it up? Get involved and say sex on the internet is sex. I had a church down in the valley tell me 1/4 of their kids told me sin on the internet's not sin because it isn't real. So I'm really hoping that works out for you. Anyway, the lost art of intimacy. Look at your kid. Don't just say you're cute and I'm proud of you. Look at them and go, you know, I was watching you at your soccer game the other night. You have exceptional judgment. You're really good at your thought processes. You know, I'm really impressed with the fact that you're able to set goals and want to be something. I saw you out there in the drill team, and I'm so proud of you for doing something like that. I can see you want to be a leader. Let's all get together and help at-risk kids. Talk to our kids about leadership. This generation's going to need more grace than any generation that's ever walked the face of the earth. And finally, I believe the most important words for keeping our kids safe from predators and combating sex trafficking are those 4 words my husband taught me. I believe in you. Thank you.
Thank you, Opal, very much. Thank you for that compelling and sobering presentation, and even more so, thank you for your dedication to the well-being of our children. We really appreciate your coming up. Opal will be available afterwards here in the lobby at the book table, and I just quickly want to thank our sponsors that are listed on the back of the program, and I want to thank all the volunteers who helped make this possible, and remember you can share this presentation with the information on the back of the program. Thank you again, everyone.